I will start with a statement that it is well known to you all that my country has been subjected to military intervention and annexation by the Russian Federation. So part of its territory, the Crimea, which is about 5% of Ukraine's territory, has been occupied and annexed, which is in complete violation of all possible and impossible international laws and norms of behavior. As you surely know, Russia is one of the countries, of the parties, which should have guaranteed Ukraine's independence and territorial integrity under the Budapest Memorandum of 1994. You know also that Ukraine gave up its third largest nuclear arsenal. Third largest in the world nuclear arsenal. For this, 4 countries guaranteed Ukraine's independence. As it appears, none of them kept their word, their promise, their signature, or whatever. Now, what will other countries think? They will think that it is impossible to preserve one's independence and integrity without nuclear weapons. Just think of it, that each country starts thinking that if no one can be believed, neither the USA, nor the Russia, nor China, nor France, nor Great Britain, so we should take care of ourselves. And that means we should acquire nuclear weapons. And it will start, it may start, shall we say, not necessarily, but it may start a new arms race, which is of course terrible. How can you now convince any other country that it will remain sovereign and integral if this happens? All this is familiar, history repeats itself. Only I wonder how many times should it repeat itself so that people should learn its lessons. Exactly the same thing happened 76 years ago, 78, when Germany annexed Austria. The same argument is used now by Mr. Putin, that Ukraine doesn't have a right to exist, there is no such nation as Ukrainians, and there is no such language as the Ukrainian language. So if we follow the words of Mr. Putin, then you are talking to me as a non-existent country, which does not have the right to exist, which is naturally stupid. And this event naturally has triggered lots of extremely negative consequences. You also know that a lot of boundaries in Europe are unjust after the Second and the First World Wars. Surely you know about the Great Albania, Great Romania, Great Hungary, Great Bulgaria, and so on. Look at Greece, which had its parts of its territory cut off and handed to Turkey, to former Yugoslavia, and so on. So, and it was an accepted international system of security. So we should agree to the situation that has been created after the Second World War. Otherwise, we should fight, or what? So this event, that is annexation of Crimea, has put too many questions which will have to be answered, and answered quickly. So what is to happen to the international system of security, of guarantees, and so on? On the 27th of March, the General Assembly of the United Nations is going to vote for a draft resolution on territorial integrity of Ukraine. And naturally it will show the attitude of other countries to what has happened in Ukraine. I talked this morning, actually just about half an hour ago, to one of your assistant deputy ministers who is in charge of Ukraine. And I put 2 questions. One is if there is a position by the Egyptian government on the situation in the Crimea. She said no, there is none. And the second one was, how is Egypt going to vote at the United Nations for this draft resolution on territorial integrity of Ukraine? She said, in the context of the general tendency. I said, what it means? She said, either yes or abstain. So this is how the matter stand here in this country, which is naturally understandable in view of the tilt or the fluctuation in the policy of Egypt. But we'll see. As we also have a saying in our country, which means a friend in need is a friend indeed. So the time for Ukraine to be in need has come. But what about the friends? Who are the friends? So we'll see. The resolution at the United Nations will show who are the friends, or I mean real friends, or who are just lip service, who are doing lip service to Ukraine. What is worrying in all this? The fact itself that Crimea was occupied and annexed is a terrible one. But naturally, Russia won't stop here. It would be good if it did, but it won't. As far back as yesterday, the Russian parliament, this Russian Duma, sent letters to parliaments of Poland, Hungary, Romania, demanding them to conduct referendums in other parts of Ukraine and divide it again, so that Poland should take part, Hungary should take part of Ukraine, Romania part, and only a small part which is in the center will be just a part of Russia, that's all. So as you see, the appetite... Yes, further, yes.
Between
Hungary, Poland, and Romania, yeah. They sent official letters. It's not my invention. They sent official letters to parliaments of respective countries. But the only reaction that I know of is that of Polish parliament. They say this letter should be sent to a psychiatrist. Or a psychiatrist, yeah, probably, yes. The right word will be psychiatrist. Others did not react yet, but we'll see, yeah. So this is how the situation stands at the moment, and probably you have questions. You're welcome.
My question, I read through that the Assistant Foreign Minister, Mr. Hadam was in Ukraine, and he already conducted media consultations with his counterpart. Would you please brief me about these meetings? Did he discuss with you the situation in Crimea?
I didn't know. I don't know that he was in Ukraine. No, he was expected to go to Ukraine. He went. When?
And we have even, I read this piece of news on MENA yesterday.
Yesterday. This is a surprise for me. I didn't know.
Consultations, and it was the last leg in your European
wow.
trip.
Are we sure? No. It's the first time I hear from you. Sorry. Not a word. It's not even on our newsline. We usually have a newsline every morning. But not a word.
We discussed this roadmap happening. If you want to see the piece of news that I wrote.
Okay, well, we'll check. But it's my duty to check my mail every morning. So there was not a word about this. And I talked to his deputy, Mrs. Howeda Rahim. She didn't mention at all. She didn't mention it to me at all.
It was announced by spokesperson of the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Oh my God, I didn't know, sorry. We'll check. And if there's anything, I will tell you. You will leave me your contacts. I will tell you, no problem. Yes, please.
About the Egyptian position, you said you spoke this morning with the Egyptian officials.
Yes.
And they said they would either say yes.
Yes.
Or abstain.
It's either yes or abstain.
What?
It's a draft resolution on territorial integrity of Ukraine. It'll be voted for on the 27th of March in New York at the UN General Assembly session.
So can you please explain the situation now in Ukraine?
Yeah.
What are the new things that have happened during the last couple of days?
This is also, well, I mean, all the news are connected with the Crimea, because our forces are still there, some of the forces still there. They are attacked by the Russians. One Ukrainian soldier was killed, several were wounded, and it continues until today. Until today, they continue to attack our forces. Then they are trying to evict. You know the word to evict? To evict people of Ukrainian origin. Expel, exactly, yeah. And there was actually an interview today in one of your newspapers, a lady saying that I would like to go and sell my flat. They do not allow me. They do not allow me to sell my flat. And I also heard several reports that a guy or several guys with machine guns come to a house and they say the owner, leave today or tomorrow and don't even try to sell it. Just leave, otherwise we'll just kill you. So this is a terrible situation. At least people should be able to sell their property in order to have some money. There is a committee established in Kiev to take care of those who wish to return to emigrate, so to say, from Crimea to Ukraine. And several thousands have arrived to the western part of Crimea where Lviv is. So it's now in progress. Also, important steps are being taken to create viable armed forces. So a National Guard was formed several days ago, and they are going to receive modern weapons. We also asked for the West for some weapons, but they are still considering whether to give it to Ukraine or not. What else? Yeah, important event happened 2 days ago, on the 21st, when Ukraine signed the political part of association agreement with the European Union. The second part may be signed a couple of months later. I mean, economic part of this association agreement will be signed later. And naturally, one of the major problems facing the new government is reforms. Because for the 22 years of Ukraine's independence, not a single one was introduced. And Ukraine is in crying need of those reforms. But again, as the same in Ukraine, on the 25th of May, we're going to have a presidential election. Naturally, no one in their right mind is going to introduce reforms, because it means a suicide, yes, it's a suicide. But the government, which is an interim one, should be a suicide government. But to create the ground for further reforms, for further implementation, and for further progress, naturally. And budget, of course, is a problem, because it was stolen out, actually, and we have to find means to fill it with money, because you have to pay people salaries, you have to pay pensions, hospitals, take care of school children, and so on and so forth. There are quite a lot of problems. Yeah.
Do you intend to ask NATO to deploy forces inside Ukraine
No.
as an action for?
No, we didn't ask, and even if we did, they wouldn't agree, because any decision to deploy forces on foreign land should be taken by parliaments, naturally. So it's not an easy thing, naturally. And this is a problem. So, but anyway, whatever people say, we are to deal with the problem ourselves. We must defend ourselves, not to wait until some other guy comes from God knows where and helps us. So we must defend ourselves. There is an anecdote about a Russian economics professor who was asked how to deal with the current economic problems in Russia. He said there are two ways. One is realistic, the other is fantastic. They say, oh, so what are those? He said, a fantastic one is that we do it ourselves. They say, what is the real one then? If aliens come and do it for us. Just think of it. So, as I mentioned, no one helps a nation which is not fighting for its independence. A nation is formed in fighting, in common struggle, not in sitting and waiting until someone else will fight for us. No one will fight for us, that is for sure.
You will not be able to fight Russia.
Then we'll die. But we'll have to fight ourselves, not to expect anyone else. If Russia invades, naturally we will fight. This is no doubt about it, no doubt about it. There is one thing for which we can thank Mr. Putin, is that his action united the whole country. You know that Ukraine received its independence, yes, we say, on a saucer, without fighting, without any drop of blood. 3 guys sat in a forest in Belarus, signed a decision, and the Soviet Union was dissolved. So until now, lots of people did not know what we needed that independence for, or whether we needed it at all. Now, 95% of the population say, we are a nation, we are Ukrainians. So this is one of the results of this action by Russia. And naturally, if Russia invades any other part, then we will fight. It was, I mean, we should have done it and acted quickly. I think the government was not, it was either was taken aback or it was unexpected, so unexpected really, this invasion, that they were taken aback, and this explains why Russia captured Crimea so easily, without any resistance actually. But now I think the time is different, and if then we'll fight. We'll fight, yeah.
Okay, I have a question about the European Union.
Yes.
When we met, before we met, there was this news that the European Union would offer the membership to Ukraine.
No, they didn't. No.
And can we see it happening soon?
Yes, it is written that it is both the dream and the desire of Ukraine, of European, to see Ukraine a member of the European Union. This is important. This is important. Naturally, yes, it would have been rash, naturally, to admit Ukraine immediately, naturally. But nevertheless, the first part, I mean, the first step has been made. So political part has been signed. Now the economic one will be a little later, and then we'll continue. We'll continue. Yeah. As I mentioned to you, I will mention to you all that Ukraine is in Europe. The geographical center of Europe is in Ukraine. So when we talk about Ukraine joining Europe, we mean we want democracy, we want transparency, we want rule of law, and we want accountability. This is what we mean by saying joining European Union. This is the main thing. Actually, this can be done even without joining the European Union. So we have to build a union, European Union, inside Ukraine ourselves. Again, not wait that someone else will do it for us. No, this is our task, and we must do it ourselves. The problem with Ukraine is that we had 4 presidents, and as experience, 4, yes, as experience shows, each next one was worse than the previous one. And they all came with one purpose in mind only, that is to enrich themselves. No one ever cared about Ukraine, its people, its statehood, and so on. If, again, I told you, but I can tell you also, can you imagine any country in the world where a president's son becomes a billionaire just in 1 year? Can you imagine this? We have this. The president's son became a billionaire in one year. He is a dentist by profession, a dentist. And a Swiss newspaper wrote an article with the title, "How many teeth did he cure in order to become a billionaire in 1 year?" There's only one source, the budget. They steal from the budget. And naturally, no budget can support this. You probably saw the presidential palace, not residence, it's a palace, with all those wonderful pictures, golden toilets, statues, the zoos, whatever, the fleet of cars, rare, extremely rare cars, which were in his garage. So all this not for personal money; it was from the budget. So it appears that all these years Ukraine has lived not according to her means, what we earned, but we spent much more than we earned, and we always begged for money from the European Union, from the International Monetary Fund, from Russia. So why? If you can't live on your means, you cut your needs. That is simply obvious. That's what exactly is now the government doing. They are selling the fleets of those enormous fleets of cars, the properties which were used by the president, and other things which were extremely detrimental to the budget. To support those things was terrible. If you only saw those garages, say, Prime Minister's garage counted 90 vehicles. Yeah? 90, why 90? 1, 2, 10, but why 90? Almost 100 vehicles. What for? And so on. So I won't go further into it, but this is what I said, that they came only to enrich themselves, and no one cared. And to tell you the truth, this, what happened in Crimea, wasn't partly explained by the fact that that area was just neglected or ignored. So we have several troublesome areas, and they should have been taken care of immediately. They should have been a priority of the eastern regions and the Crimea. I come from the east, from where the former president comes. I come from that region. So my relatives are all there. My brother, eastern Ukraine, Donetsk, if you heard. I come from that part. So my relatives are all there, and I visit them, I go there, and they say, oh yes, I forgot to mention one of the major facts. So our former president, Mr. Yanukovych, is a criminal. He was in jail twice. Once for... Sorry? Yes, one who escaped, yes. He was in jail for rape, first time, second time for robbery. Robbery, yeah. And when I asked my relatives, so who are you going to vote for? For him. Say, why? He's we call them bandit. He's a bandit, yes, but he's our bandit. So they thought when he becomes president, he would improve their life. Nothing of the kind happened. That region is very scarce in employment. It's only coal and metallurgy. But the scope has diminished very, very significantly. So the people are under constant threat of losing their jobs. And naturally, when you have such a situation, you can manipulate people very easily. And that is actually the reason why there this dissent is so prominent. And as I mentioned, so this is because all the previous governments did not take care of those troublesome areas. Never did they that, and that is the result. Naturally, one of the reasons, not all, but one of the reasons why it happened.
There are fears that maybe Eastern Ukraine asked for annexation to Russia because of the same situation.
No, I think no. They are not so prominent. Those voices who would like to annex, But still, there are signs of these disturbances. And naturally, they say that those are people from Russian special services who do all this work. You know, you should also understand why it happened, what happened. It all began after the 2004 Orange Revolution in Ukraine, because Putin was so frightened with what he saw that he said it should never happen in Russia. So what he did, he prepared himself well. He cleaned all his mass media. All those who voiced any type of dissent were dismissed or closed or pushed away, whatever. I used to read this. They have a very good site, Lenta.ru. If you know, this is a very, well, used to be very good informative site. Now they drove away all the chief editor and his supporters, and the guy said, it's not a problem, I will find a job, but what will you read? What you will read, that is the problem now. So all organizations, what we call international NGOs were made illegal. The British Council even pulled out of Russia, and all others were declared international agents and were ordered either to reform themselves or to leave. Mostly they left. And so Mr. Putin managed to create a platform that supports him entirely. Anyone who shows any dissent is dealt with immediately. There was only one member of Russian parliament who said that the action is not just, that is a violation and so on. He was deprived of his mandate at once. So this is kind of an enormous totalitarian regime which strives to control any dissent in the country and not to allow it to come forward in any way. Mr. Putin sent his people to the Crimea. You know that actually the Crimea is a territory for the Tatars. The Crimean Tatars are the autonomous population of the Crimea. And not Russians, no. The Crimea always was under Tatars, Crimean Tatars, yeah. And Russia captured it at some time in the 18th century, but nevertheless it was the Tatars who were the autonomous population. But then what actually happened in 1944, that is during the Second World War, when the Crimea was liberated from the Germans, the Tatars, the Bulgarians, the Greeks, and Armenians were deported to Siberia and to other parts of Eastern Russia. They were accused of the so-called collaboration with the Germans and deported, which was a terrible natural event. 200,000 people were put into carriages which were used for carrying cattle without any condition whatsoever, and were taken on long rides to this. Lots of them died, especially women. They say the Muslim women do not go to the toilet in front of other people. So they had to suffer so much, and lots of them died actually on that run. Now if you look at the percentage of the population, it is of course in Russia's favor. 60% of the population are the Russians, 24% are Ukrainians, and only 12% are the Tatars. The Crimea, why is it like this? It is like this because the Crimea in Soviet times was a lucrative, so to say, place for the Russian or the Soviet elite. All the generals and high-ranking officials, when they retired, they moved to the Crimea. Why? Because it's on the sea coast. It is sometimes called the Ukrainian Switzerland. extremely good landscape, whatever type of scenery you want. You have the sea, you have the mountain, the steppes, the forest, whatever. So it's enormously attractive area. So that is why now the majority of the population are the Russians. So this is no doubt, naturally. But the Crimean Tatars ignored the referendum. They did not vote. And they intend to create their autonomy. They used to have probably one. I mean, they want to have one, but whether they will succeed, I don't know. Inside Crimea, yes. Because, you know, in the Russian constitution, there is no right to self-determination, no right to separation, no nothing. As some my Egyptian friends say, no nothing. So they may want, but whether they will succeed, I doubt it very much. But they intend to do it. So we'll see what comes out of it.